Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
And you may inquire Detective Newman.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Just for the record, state your name again, spell it.
Christopher Newman. The last name is Newman.
All right, we wrapped up yesterday with the defendant's interview.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and as part of speaking to the defendant, did you learn that he was married at the time of this case?
Yes.
Okay, who was he married to?
Debbie Escalera.
Okay, and as part of your investigation, do you also then interview other people that may know potential suspects or witnesses in the case?
Absolutely.
And does part of your investigation also then involve doing subpoenas or issuing search warrants for phone records?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and as part of your investigation, did you obtain, and I know you asked in the interview, you asked the defendant for his phone number. Did you also get the victim's phone number in this case?
Yes.
Okay, and did you also get Deborah Soto-Escalera's phone number?
Yes, we did.
Okay, do you recall what her phone number was?
I believe it's 989.
And for now, I don't have any other questions. Thank you, Detective Newman.
You're welcome.
During your interview with my client, he consented to give a sample of his DNA, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
I'm sorry?
I said yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. And he also consented to a search of his phone, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he also consented to a search of his truck, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you let him leave with the truck
Yes,
after
ma'am.
the search?
Yes, ma'am.
So he took it home.
Yes, ma'am.
And during the course of your investigation, you talked a little bit with the state about that. You learned that Tania was also seeing somebody by the name of Bradley Rodriguez, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you learned that Tanya's mother, Tania actually lived with her mother and Bradley Rodriguez, right?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Bradley and Tania lived at Tanya's mother's house.
Yes, ma'am. Briefly.
Okay, and that Bradley was kicked out of Tanya's mother's house in March of 2018 because Bradley was violent with Tania.
Yes.
And you learned that Bradley was possibly one of the fathers, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You also learned that there was another potential father of the baby by the name of Mark Burke, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you learned through the course of your investigation that Mark Burke actually had a turbulent relationship with Miss Wise, is that correct?
As I recall, yes, ma'am.
And that he had actually abused her and was arrested, correct?
I don't recall if he was arrested for abuse. I can't call that, ma'am.
Okay, if I showed you your supplemental report, would it refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm going to object at this point. If you could approach.
Sure.
And Detective, if you could scoot closer to the microphone as well, jurors may have some difficulty hearing you. Please continue your cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Sir, in the course of your investigation, you learned that Mark Burke had an active arrest warrant at the date of the murder for a fraud case, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that his co-defendant in that case was actually Tania Wise?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that Miss Wise was afraid of him because of that case, is that correct?
Well, there had been people that had said that, but she had had numerous contacts with him after he had an active warrant, and she never turned him in and met with him on a regular basis, so I didn't know how afraid of him she was.
Okay, and when was the last time she had seen Mark Burke, to your knowledge?
I believe when I interviewed Mr. Burke, he said it was the week of her disappearance, and she had performed oral sex on him in his car.
Okay, and I think during your direct with the state that you said Miss Wise had been talking to a person by the name of Giovanni Alvarado, that you learned that, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and actually she was supposed to, on the night of her murder, meet up with Giovanni Alvarado, is that correct?
That's what several people were saying, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that during the course of your investigation, you also learned that a gentleman by the name of Jared Christie had dropped her off at her mother's house on the night of her murder. Is that correct?
That would be, that was Mr. Casino, right?
Correct. He goes by the street name Casino, but
Yes,
his
ma'am.
legal name is Jared Christie.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And during the course of your investigation, you got a DNA sample from Bradley Rodriguez Jr., is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got a sample of DNA from Giovanni Alvarado, correct?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
And you got a DNA sample from Mark Burke, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you get a DNA sample from Jared Christie too?
I don't recall.
Okay, you don't remember if you got that one?
No, ma'am.
I have no further questions for this witness.
No questions. Subject to recall.
Thank you, Detective Newman. You may step down. You're subject to recall by the attorneys. Please make sure they have contact information for you. And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
Yes, sir. The people of the state of Florida call excuse me, Agent Kelly DP Trantonio.
You swear or affirm that evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Right over to the witness box.
And you may inquire of the witness.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you state your name for the record and spell your last name, please?
My name is Kelly D. Pietrantonio, D-I-P-I-E-T-R-A-N-T-O-N-I-O.
Okay. And Ms. DP, what do you do for a living?
I'm a special agent with the FBI.
Okay. And can you give us a thumbnail sketch of your education, your training, and your experience, please?
Sure. I have a Bachelor's of Arts and a Master's of Science from Long Island University. After becoming before becoming an agent, I went to Quantico, Virginia, and did my 20-week training to become an agent there. I'm also part of the FBI's Cellular Analysis Survey Team, or CAST as we call it, C-A-S-T. And to become a CAST certified agent, you have to, just like anything else that you don't know what you're doing, you start with a basic class, very simple. It's about a 2-day class, and we learn about the different providers. When I say providers, I'm talking about AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, US Cellular. And they show us the records that they maintain, why they maintain them, how they maintain them, what they look like. And then we figure out all of those records, and we figure out a way to actually plot those on a map so you can visually see where these phones possibly were when they were making a phone call or sending a text message or initiating a data session. After the basic class, you're paired up with a mentor, and you go back to the field, you work your cases, you practice some of these records on your own. Then you can get invited to the advanced class. And that's just like the basic, but just a little more nuanced. You learn Google, Facebook, Snapchat, car records, very similar to how you can track a phone, you can track a vehicle. So we work with all of those. And then if you do well, again, in advanced, you continue working with that mentor, you go back to the field, you work on those cases and practice working with those records. After that, you can get invited to what's called CIRA. That's the Critical Incident Readiness Assessment, or CIRA. In CIRA, you walk in, it's not an instructor-based class, so you walk in and your teachers will say, okay, today there's a missing 3-year-old in Miami-Dade County. This is the phone number for the child's father. He was last seen with them, find the child. And again, it's a training environment, so you have to ask for the appropriate records in order to find that child and present your findings to your colleagues, to a team that's ready to go out and knock on doors and look for this child. If you do well in that, again, you go back, practice with those records, come back, and you can take the certification course. The certification course is 2 2-week sessions broken up into what we call Cert 1 and Cert 2. In Cert 1, you will actually get a chance to sit down with the providers and meet with the custodians of record and the engineers. The custodians of records are the folks that actually pull the records for you when we give them subpoenas and search warrants and exigent requests. And the engineers are obviously the folks who create, modify, and optimize the network so that we stay customers, because these are billion-dollar industries, right? And they want to keep doing that, keep making money, and keep us as customers. So that's a really great opportunity. The second part of Cert 2, in Cert 1, we also get about a semester's worth of training on radio frequency theory from professors from the Florida Institute of Technology. So it's the same professors that are teaching folks who actually go out and do this for a living, engineers in the field. In Cert 2, we have the opportunity to learn a new software that we use. It's called ESPA. And then we also learn a new piece of equipment. It's called the Gladiator Autonomous Receiver, or a GAR. If you remember those old commercials, I think they were Verizon, where the guy used to walk around and he used to go, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" Basically, what the receiver does is exactly that. We'll drive every single block in a neighborhood, and we'll act as though we're making a phone call, and it will be a Verizon phone, a T-Mobile phone, a Sprint phone, an AT&T phone, and it'll say, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" And it'll actually figure out what the footprint of that tower is. So if I were to communicate with a tower, or if I was making a call, what tower would I connect to? In order to connect to a tower, one, very important, the phone has to decide which tower I'm going to connect to. And it does that based on what it views as the clear, strongest signal for itself at that time. After that, if you're anything like me, and you start your day as soon as you get in your car, you start making calls. I live in Broward County, so I'll start making my call at my house, and then I'll drive down to work, and sometimes I go down to Miami. So the ending...
All overruling objection is a preface to the overall testimony. You could continue. You're driving in this scenario.
Thank you. So I'll start at my house, and then I'll continue driving until I get to work. If I'm headed to Miami that day, my ending tower will be in Miami. So both providers, in this case at least, provide both the beginning and ending towers for your records. And then you'll actually take a case in Cert 2 at the end of your training to a moot court. So it looks just like this. We go to a real courtroom and have defense attorneys and prosecutors that come in and help us. We take a case from initiation. We look at the records. We analyze those records. We create a report. We do a drive test to figure out the footprint, or what we call the ground truth of those records. And then we present our findings in a trial situation.
Okay. And how many of these analyses that you previously described have you actually conducted and performed during your career as a special agent for the FBI?
Well, not every case that I do goes to trial, so I'm looking at phone records on a weekly basis. So I've looked at over 100 phone records, well over 100. But trial is not typically that many.
Okay. And how many times have you testified in a court of law regarding these phone analyses that you previously described?
Regarding phone analysis, probably about 11 or 12 times.
Okay. And you're doing these analyses on a weekly basis?
Yes, most
Okay.
of the time, yes.
Over the course of how many years?
I became certified in 2021, but I started my first basic class. I was a tactical analyst beforehand, but you are not allowed to be certified in that position. But I took that class in 2016, so I've been working with these records since 2016.
Okay. And were you previously provided with phone records with respect to this case, the state of Florida versus Jose Soto-Escalera?
I was, yes.
Okay. And were you specifically provided with Sprint records in which the subscriber was the defendant, Jose Soto-Escalera?
Yes, I was.
And were you also provided with T-Mobile records where the subscriber was a fellow by the name of Bradley Rodriguez, who paid for the phone for Tania Wise, the victim of the case?
Yes, I was.
Okay, I'm going to show you this particular item of evidence, which is a flash drive. What is on that flash drive?
These are the records that I received from both Sprint and T-Mobile for this case.
Okay. And did you and when you say records, are these voluminous records?
They are, yes.
Okay. Did you rely on those records to arrive at the conclusions in your case, in this case?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Okay. And I am going to show you what has been marked as States 148 for identification purposes. Do you recognize that?
This is the report that I generated for this case.
Okay. And what is? And you said it's a report. Go ahead and describe for the jury what data you looked at and how you analyze that data.
Sure. So phone carriers maintain a couple different kinds of records. The first is what's called a call detail record. If anybody remembers getting paper statements in the mail, you have a couple different columns. It's obviously one, your phone number, who you called, who called you, the date and time of that call, the duration of that call. It looks very similar to that. The only difference is with the call detail records is we have some tower information. So it'll actually tell us what tower you utilized to make that phone call, receive that phone call, send that text message, or receive that text message. Same with the data session. So we take those records and we marry them up with what's called a tower list. Phone companies are required to keep a tower list, and it's basically every tower within their network. But the call detail records, sometimes they'll refer to the towers as tower 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have to go to the call detail, to the tower list, I apologize, and see where tower 1, 2, 3, 4 is actually located. And that will give us the address and the lat and long of that tower. So we marry those two together to figure out, again, where these phone calls were taking place.
Okay. And the report in front of you, does that distill your analysis down to paper form? In other words, does it show the geographical area where these two phones were on the night of August 23rd of 2018?
It does, yes.
Okay, and is this a fair and accurate representation of the report?
It is.
And is it true and correct?
It is.
Okay, Your Honor, the state moves into evidence, exhibit number 148.
Any objection to 148?
Can you just see it real quick?
Of interest using my software, and then I drew my own conclusions from those records.
Okay, and go ahead and advance to slide 3. So what are we looking at here?
This slide just shows examples of cell phone towers. Something I think that is important to note here is just because you see a cell phone tower doesn't necessarily mean that your phone is communicating with that tower if you're close to it. So for example, I have Verizon for my personal phone. So my phone can only see Verizon towers. I may be standing underneath an AT&T tower. My phone doesn't even recognize that tower. So just because you're close to one doesn't necessarily mean that your phone is talking to that tower. And then something else just to note here is that carriers nowadays, depending upon the location, will try to have the cell phone towers blend in. They're not always these ugly structures on the side of the road like maybe we're used to seeing. So I think that cactus on the left-hand side there, I think that is in Arizona. I think Wyoming has one that's kind of built into like a billboard of a bison. So again, just because you see them doesn't necessarily mean your phone's talking to them. And just because you don't see them, or potentially don't see them, doesn't necessarily mean they're not there.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and advance to the 4th slide. Okay, why don't you just describe for the jury what we're looking at?
Sure. So most towers have 3 sides. Some towers have 6 sides, some have 1. Those are called omnidirectional towers. But for the purpose of this report, I think most of the towers in this report have 3 sides. When each tower is placed on Earth, it's not always pointed in the same direction, so we call that the azimuth or the orientation. And that's another column that we'll see in those call detail records. The carriers will let us know how the tower is oriented, so we know which direction this signal emanated from the tower to the phone. If you look at the photo all the way to the right, that's how I'll display cell sites that were that the phone interacted with. That shaded area does not show where the phone was located. That simply is just a guide for the direction the signal traveled. So it can or cannot be within that shaded area. And then a good way, I think, to think of my report, this is kind of a weird comparison, I know, but see how those lines are straight and it's very neat and kind of sharp looking? I like to compare that to almost like a cherry pie at Cheesecake Factory. It always comes really neat. The sides are straight. But if you ever cut a cherry pie at home, it's not neat. There's cherries that fall out. And even if you were to smack that cherry pie at home, typically it's still going to be that wedge shape, and you can tell it's a pie, right? But you may have a couple crumbs that are not attached at all at that point. And that's actually a more realistic depiction of what the footprint of a cell tower actually looks like. Radio frequency is not a straight line, it's jagged. So just keep that in mind when we're looking at the report. The report has these sharp lines just to show a direction or again, as a guide. But radio frequency does not travel in a straight line like that.
Okay, and why don't you go ahead, I think this is a good point to go ahead and describe to the jury some of the limitations of your analysis. You
Sure.
mentioned the analogy of a cherry pie kind of thing. Why don't you go ahead and describe that for the jury?
Sure. So a couple things just to take into consideration. These records are maintained by the cell phone companies. I don't know who's holding the device at the time. If it's a phone call, I don't know what was said on that phone call. If it's a text message, I don't know what was written in that text message. If it's a photo, I don't know what the photo is of. Same thing with the data session. I can't tell that they logged onto Facebook or they sent an email. I can only say that the phone interacted with this tower at this time on this date. So just something to keep in mind throughout the report.
Okay, and if we could advance to slide 5 now, please. Thank you. Go ahead.
Time in advance is another record that the telephone companies keep. This is what we consider the golden standard. Time in advance is a record that will actually, it's a signal that's sent from the tower to the device and back to the tower. And based on the amount of time that it takes the signal to go from the tower to the phone and back to the tower, we can figure out with a mathematical equation based on radio frequency and how it travels at the speed of light, how far away that phone may be at the time that it made that phone call, or again, sent that text message. But, however, for time in advance, it's important to note that you don't have to be making a phone call to get a time in advance record. You don't have to be sending a text message. And you don't have to be within the footprint of that tower to talk to a tower. Time in advance is completely up to the network, and whatever tower wants to take a measurement of itself to the phone and back to itself can do so. So sometimes you'll get time in advance records that are very far away from the phone, and the phone is clearly not within the footprint of that tower. That's normal for time in advance. That's not typical for a call detail record.
Okay, and if we could advance to the next slide, please. Okay, what are we looking at here?
This is the phone number ending in 0257. So T-Mobile, anytime somebody signs up for their services, they keep a subscriber log. This phone is registered to Bradley Rodriguez, but again, used by Tania Wise. And it just says when they started their service, ended their service, and then a couple of other information about the actual device itself.
Okay, and if we could advance to the next slide, please.
This is the same thing, but for Sprint. This is for the number ending in 6163, subscribed to Mr. Escalera. And again, it just says when he started his relationship with Sprint, and then that the phone was maintained by him as a subscriber, his address, information like that.
Okay, and the next slide, please.
This is basically the same thing, just how Sprint kind of use it on their screen in their own program. But again, we can see that the phone ending in 6163 is subscribed to Mr. Soto-Escalera here as well.
Okay, and is that this name right here, Mr. Escalera?
Yes.
So focus in. Okay, and the next slide, please. Okay, and if it would be easier for you, if you would don't mind stepping down and sort of walking the jury through what we're looking at. So here we are on the next slide. Go ahead and tell the jury what we're looking at.
So all of these green dots are T-Mobile towers. They make up the T-Mobile network. All of the black dots are Sprint towers, and they make up the Sprint network. I was given, as I said earlier, a couple different points of interest for this case. The first being this red flag here, that's the location of where the victim's body was found. The second here is this green flag, that's the victim's residence, or Mrs. Wise's residence. And this yellow flag is Mr. Escalera's residence.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you.
You can see that the towers are kind of spread out here. This area is not super densely populated. If you were to go to an area like Manhattan or Los Angeles, you would see a lot more towers, a lot closer together, much more packed and condensed.
But because this area, you have less people, less devices, less people that need resources from each of the towers. You have less towers. They're a little more spread out, especially like in areas like this. I'll point out over here, you don't have a lot of towers. That's just because there's not a lot of people living there. It's very rural in this area.
Okay, and the next slide, please.
Okay, so here we have some timing in advance records and some call detail records, or phone calls that were made. I'll start with this one over here. See how this arc is a little bit darker than this one? That's only because there are actually quite a few timing in advance records that are almost pancaked on top of each other here. So the first one we'll look at was on August 23rd, 2018 at 8:06 p.m. And that's this outermost arc here. You can see that there's a little area that's just a little bit lighter, a little further west. That arc was 1.73 miles from the tower. This arc relates to the phone ending in 6163 used by Mr. Escalera. So that's telling us that the phone, used again by Mr. Escalera, was in an area consistent with the defendant's residence, with his own residence. And then if we look here at 8:07, 8:08, and 8:18 on that same day, August 23rd, Mr. Escalera's phone moves just a touch eastbound. And that's that darker shaded area here. That three different, again, kind of pancaked on top of each other, timing advance records. Now if we continue on at 8:18 p.m., the phone again moved eastward closer towards the victim's residence. And we see that that arc was 0.94 miles away from the tower at that point. If we look here, these are all the phone calls that were made on this day from 8:06 p.m. through 8:18 p.m. on August 23rd. Let's look at the first one here. At 8:06 p.m., we can see that our target phone, the phone ending in 6163 used by Mr. Escalera, called a number ending in 0257. That was actually the phone that belonged to Tania Wise. That call lasted 38 seconds. It was a voice call, and again, it was from Mr. Escalera to Ms. Wise. Now, because we have Mrs. Wise's call detail records, we see that same call, but incoming to her phone right after. So it took about 2 seconds for it to register to get to her phone. And then again, the call lasted 32 seconds on her side, and it was an incoming call from Mr. Escalera's phone. Then Mr. Escalera at 8:07 and 8:08 p.m. calls two people. The first has a phone number ending in 3288, and the second a phone number ending in 8475. And then if we continue on again, just like the first two calls we saw that kind of were the same call really, we have that same instance here at 8:18 and 15 seconds. Mrs. Wise's phone calls Mr. Escalera's phone. And then we see the incoming call on Mr. Escalera's phone from Mrs. Wise, again at 8:18. And then we have another instance of that repeated call again at 8:18 and 15 seconds approximately later. Mrs. Wise's phone calls Mr. Escalera's phone, and then we see that incoming call to Mr. Escalera from Mrs. Wise's phone on his record. All of these calls were made from a tower right here, right where those two sectors kind of intersect.
Okay. And the tower, what can you say about the tower, the final tower that's that those calls communicated off of? Is that, how close to that is the victim's residence? Close to, how close is the tower to the victim's residence? I'm sorry.
So here's our key, but clearly less than a mile, maybe a block or two away from her residence there.
Okay, okay. And then, if we can advance to the next slide, please. So what are we looking at here?
So this is at 8:25 p.m. And then we have a couple different records that are just spread out by a couple different seconds here. So we'll start with the first one at 8:25 and 27 seconds. We have a call, an outgoing call from Mrs. Wise's phone to a number ending in 6163, which we now know is the phone used by Mr. Escalera. And that was done via this sector here pointing eastbound, the green sector. All of the green calls, if I didn't mention this earlier, belong to Ms. Wise, and all of the black calls in the black sectors belong to Mr. Escalera. At 8:25 and 28 seconds, we have again that same duplicative call, but on Mr. Escalera's record. So we can see that he received an incoming call from a number ending in 0257, which we know belongs to Ms. Wise, and he used this sector to receive that call. So towers may be in the same spot, and what companies will do sometimes is it costs a lot of money to build these towers. So once a tower is already built or constructed, they'll just put their antennas on top of each other. So sometimes you can see different layers, and sometimes it's different layers of the same network, sometimes it's different networks or different providers. But it looks like the towers are very close together, if not the same tower. The sectors are just different because remember how I said they orient their towers differently? So his tower, and specifically his sector that he used, is oriented just a little bit further north than Mrs. Wise's was here. Then at 8:25 and 50 seconds, we can see that there was a timing advance record for Mr. Escalera's phone that put him about 0.45 miles from the tower. Within 0.4 miles is Mrs. Wise's residence, which you can see here by that green flag.
Okay, so is it fair to say that Mr. Soto-Escalera's phone is within 0.4 miles away of the victim's residence on August 23rd, 2018 at 8:25 p.m.?
Correct. I would say this is an area that or his phone is utilizing a tower that is consistent with being at or around her residence.
And if we could advance to the next slide, please. Okay, so what are we looking at here? It looks like we're looking at the time frame between 8:44 p.m. and 10 p.m. on August 23rd of 2018. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, let's go ahead and walk the jury through your analysis, please.
So we have a couple of different things on this slide. I'll start with Mrs. Wise's phone down here to the south of the map. At 8:44 and 8:45, she made 2 calls, and she utilized a sector that was facing southbound, right here, kind of adjacent to the Florida Turnpike. Both of those calls were outgoing to numbers ending in 2218 and 7301. And here, typically on the other side, we saw a duration. Here it says -1. That's just a nuance with T-Mobile records. Sometimes they don't maintain the duration for certain calls, and when there's no duration populated in their call detail records, our software will kind of tell us that by just inputting a -1. So it's not that the call was -1 seconds. Obviously, that's impossible. There was just no duration noted there.
Let me stop you there if you don't mind.
Sure.
Is it accurate to say that at 8:25 p.m. until 8:44 p.m., the phone for Ms. Wise traveled north?
Yes. Yep, because if you remember at 8:25, the phone was further south down here by her residence.
Okay. And the same question for Mr. Soto-Escalera's phone?
Correct. So we don't see him over here, but we do see him even further north. And again, if you remember from the last slide, he was in that same general area of her house, just like Ms. Wise was.
Okay. So go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead and pick up on your analysis.
Sure. I'll switch over to this center call-out box right here. We're going to start with this call at 9:51. That was a outgoing call made from Mr. Escalera's phone to a number ending in 7131. And then this, actually, if you remember earlier, I think I mentioned that the phone itself decides what tower it views as the best tower to make that call at the initiation of that call. And that's really important because the network takes over at the ending part of that call or anywhere after the initiation. So you can skip 10 towers, you can only have 2 towers in a call, you can have 1 tower. So the phone decides at the beginning of the call what tower it's going to connect to, and then the network takes over. So here you see how we have a 38-second call. Here's a 38-second call, and it's just 38 seconds after the first one. This is actually the ending tower for this same call. So that's why we don't have a phone number over here as well. So the call started over here from this tower and ended on this tower. Now, in between those two, we have a timing in advance arc. And cell phone coverage kind of works similar to a sprinkler system in your yard. You want to have a little bit of overlap just so you don't drop calls, because again, these people are in business to make money. If you're dropping calls, you're going to leave and you're going to go to another provider, right? They don't want that. So what they'll do is they'll create a little bit of overlap, but not too much that it overflows your lawn and your lawn is overflowed with water. In the radio frequency world, that creates what's called a lot of noise in the network. And it gets difficult for the phones to hear the towers to hear the phones, and vice versa. Based on how short this call was and where this timing in advance point is, you can see that it's almost right in the middle of both of those towers, which tells me, knowing that there's no more towers in between here, that the phone was likely in this area when it made that phone call. After it made that phone call at 9:52, we'll go to this one at 10 p.m. here. Mr. Escalera's phone made a call to a number ending in 8475, south of that initial call from the slide, but again, using a sector that was pointed northbound, and that's this one right here. And we can see that the timing in advance arc for that tower was about 1.3 miles away from the tower. I think that covers this slide.
Okay. And let me ask you this: what is the closest point that the defendant's phone, Jose Soto-Escalera, got within the intersection of Johnston Road and Russo Road, which is our crime scene?
So this right here, this red flag is again the crime scene where the victim's body was found. This to the tower is 4.33 miles. I would say that that is probably less than 2 miles away.
Okay. And does that include the outside of the crime scene as well?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay. And if we could go, I believe that's the last slide. If we go to, okay, that is the last slide. Okay. Thank you. You can thank you. Okay. Agent DP Trantonio, thank you very much. I have no further questions. The defense counsel may have some for you.
Thank you.
No cross-stitch, thank you.
May this witness be released from the subpoena at this time? Any objections to releasing?
No objection.
Thank you, Agent DP Trantonio. You are releasing your subpoena. You're free to stay or leave as you wish.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
Donna Carmichael with the San Luis County Sheriff's Office.
You swear affirm that evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And you may inquire the witness.
Morning.
Good morning.
Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Donna Carmichael, Carmichael.
All right, and are you currently employed?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay, you're recently retired?
Yes, sir.
All right, what did you retire from doing?
I retired from the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office. I was the crime scene supervisor there.
All right, and if you could tell the jury, how long did you work for the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office as the crime scene supervisor?
I worked for the Sheriff's Office for 31 years. The first 11 years, I was the evidence custodian. For 12 years, I was a crime scene investigator. In the last 8 years, I was the supervisor of the unit.
All right, and if you could tell the jury, what was your background and your training and experience that allowed you to be able to do that job and work all the way up to the supervisor for the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office?
I have thousands of hours of training through different organizations such as the FBI, the American Institute of Applied Science, West Virginia University, North Carolina Justice Institution, the International Association of Identification, and LEVA, which is Law Enforcement Video Analysis, and other forensic discipline organizations. Through that, the training is through documenting scenes, processing evidence, video analysis, latent print analysis and comparison, homicide scenes, death investigations, shooting investigations, to just name a few of the different types of training that I attended.
All right, and as far as the crime scene supervisor, were you employed in that capacity back in August of 2018?
Yes, sir.
And were two of the other crime scene investigators, Kayla Lim and Janine Hiller, did you supervise them at that time?
Yes, sir.
And did you provide assistance to them in working the homicide case of Tania Wise?
Yes, sir.
What was your involvement in the case, as far as the collecting and the documentation of physical evidence?
Well, there was several different days. We worked on this case for multiple days and weeks. At the initial scene, I assisted CSI Hiller with the documentation of measurements, because of course you need two people to hold a tape measure, and that. And then when it came time to examine the victim, I assisted with the examination by allowing her to be able to take photographs while I adjusted the victim, moved the victim for her so that she could take photographs.
All right, so now let's go to August 25th, 2018. Did you assist in the collection of evidence from the defendant's truck?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what I'd first like to just show you is some photographs that have been marked. And those have been marked as State's Exhibits 171 through 182. You can just tell me if you recognize these photographs.
Yes, sir.
And how is it that you recognize those photographs?
These are the photographs that I took that day
And where did you take those photographs?
at the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office in the Criminal Investigations parking lot.
And what are the photographs of?
They are photographs of the defendant's truck, a silver Dodge Ram truck.
All right. Do those photographs accurately reflect the defendant's vehicle as it was at the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office on August 25th of 2018?
Yes, sir.
At this time, the state would move into evidence with marked for identification, States 171 through 182. It is. Just a second.
Any objection?
No objection.
Those items will come into evidence at this time without objection.
Publish these photographs. All right, so we have State's Exhibit 171 up on the screen. Where is this parking lot located?
It is on the west side of the sheriff's office in the fenced-in area, which is normally employee parking for the detectives.
All right, and then we're looking at, this is a side photograph, passenger side of the defense truck.
Yes, sir.
All right, State's Exhibit 172. I think we can see you in the reflection of the tailgate. What are we looking at here?
The rear tailgate area in the back of the pickup truck showing the license plate number.
State's 173.
That is the driver's side of the vehicle.
Okay, why do you take all these different photographs?
We do it to show if there's any damage or any other evidence that might be easily seen with through taking photographs, and to show the condition of the vehicle when we first see it.
174.
That is the front area of the vehicle to show the front quarter panel and driver's area of the vehicle.
175.
And again, the actual front of the vehicle to show what it looks like.
176.
That is the bed of the vehicle.
177.
Just a different angle, making sure we can get all of the areas of the bed.
Let's see, 178.
This is the interior section of the driver's side of the vehicle.
179.
This is a close-up so that it captures the center console area in the seat, and to show that the items on the seat.
180.
This is the back driver's side seat showing that area.
181.
A pair of shoes that were on the floor of the vehicle,
And 182.
the bottoms of the shoes.
Now, in addition to photographing the defendant's vehicle on that day, did you and Ms. Lim also do swabs of the vehicle?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and did you work on the driver's side of the vehicle while Ms. Lim worked on the passenger side?
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time I'd like to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibits 152, 153, 154, and 160.
Okay.
Do you recognize these items?
Yes, sir.
All right, then as far as 152, 153, and 154, what are these?
There's DNA swabbings that I did of the interior of the truck.
Okay, and if you could describe for the jury just briefly, how do you do that?
What we do is we take sterile swabs that are two swabs come in a package together. They're sterile, and we open that package. We have small vials of sterile water that we will moisten one of the swabs with the sterile water and leave the other swab dry. We keep the two swabs together when we're swabbing an area so that they're together. Then we will rotate the swabs while we are swabbing the area, and then put the swabs back in the sterile package, and then they go into an evidence envelope.
All right, and as far as State's Exhibits 152, 153, 154, are those swabs that were taken from the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And then State's Exhibit 160, how do you recognize that exhibit?
It has my handwriting and information on the package.
And what is that exhibit?
It's hairs that was found on the right shoe.
The shoes from those pictures?
Yes, sir.
This time the State would move in evidence with marked for identification 152, 153, 154, and 160.
No objection.
Those items will come into evidence without objection.
So as far as that day with that truck, is that the extent of your involvement with that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
All right. So in addition to taking those swabs, did you also take some buccal swabs in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is that?
A buccal swab is basically a DNA swab to collect a person's DNA. And what we do is we have special swabs that come in special tubes that we can swab the interior of a person's mouth. And we take two different swabs and swab each side of the mouth, one swab on one side and one swab on the other, and then those are submitted to evidence.
All right. So in this case, did you take a swab of the defendant, in this case, Jose Soto-Escalera?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I would like to show you what's been marked for identification in State's Exhibit 161. You recognize that?
Yes, sir.
How do you recognize it?
My handwriting is on the package.
All right. And is there any identifying information that shows it was you that did this swab?
Yes, sir. It has my initials and my ID number.
What was your ID number back then?
1030,
Okay, and what is the date that you took this swab?
8/25 of 2018.
Okay, do you see the person that you took the swab from, Jose Soto-Escalera, here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
If you could you point to that person, identify him by an article of clothing?
He is sitting over to my left. He is wearing a black jacket and a blue colored shirt.
Okay, so that's the person that you swabbed, and that's the swab that's inside of this envelope, State's Exhibit 161?
Yes, sir.
All right, this time the State will move in evidence with marked for identification, State's Exhibit 161.
No objection.
That item will come into evidence without objection.
Did you take some other buccal swabs and some other people in this case?
Yes, sir.
And would those be Giovanni Alvarado, Mark Burke, and Bradley Rodriguez?
Yes, sir.
All right, this time I'd like to show you what's been marked for identification, State's Exhibits 162, 163, and 164. 164. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir.
All right, how do you recognize this?
Again, it has my handwriting and the information on the packages.
All right, and then do you document who you're swabbing on each one? You write the name of the person that you're swabbing?
Yes, sir.
And you place those in those envelopes?
Yes, sir.
How are these, I guess, what is, just so the jury knows, what is all the writing that's on and the tape? What is all of that?
That is our initials, our ID numbers, and dates of when we sealed the package. So then, like on this one, it has my initials and date up here, but somebody else opened the package at a later date, and they signed down at the bottom of the package and dated on this side of the package. We always try to open the package in a different location than where it was sealed, but unfortunately, sometimes a package gets opened multiple times for different reasons, and but everybody tries to not sign over top of somebody else's seal, so it's resealed each time.
What are reasons why packages have to be reopened and then resealed?
It all depends on the evidence and who collects it. If say a road deputy collects a piece of evidence or a detective collects a piece of evidence, and the crime scene unit needs to examine that for trace evidence or process it for fingerprints, or something like that, then it will come into the crime scene unit, and we would have to open that package to then process it, and once we're done, we would repackage and seal it. Also, it could, if it is a cell phone or something like that, it could go to our forensics lab where the detective that handles cell phones and pulls data from those, they would have to unseal it and then reseal it again. And a lot of things go to a lab to be analyzed by an analyst at the lab, so they would then unseal it and reseal it.
So if there's a buckle swab, you guys put it in an envelope and seal it. If you send it to the lab, does it have to be reopened to be tested?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But every time that it's opened, it's documented and it's initialed and it's dated.
Yes, sir.
At this time, the state moving evidence to mark for identification, states exhibits 162, 163, and 164.
Any objection?
No objection.
Those items will come into evidence without objection.
Thank you, Ms. Carmichael. That's all the questions I have for now.
Yes, ma'am. When you took photos of my client on August 24, 2018, you did not see any visual injuries or abrasions, correct?
Correct.
And at that time, my client gave verbal and written consent to give his DNA, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And swab his truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And you also, I think the state mentioned, got the DNA from Mark Burke, Giovanni Alvarado, and Bradley Rodriguez, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Bradley Rodriguez Jr., I should say. I have no further questions at this time.
Any further questions from the state?
There you are.
May Ms. Carmichael be released from her subpoena this time?
She is subject to recall.
Could you please step down, and you do remain subject to recall by the attorney so long as court.
Do you swear affirm that evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If you could, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
My full name is Wayne Austin Walker Jr. My first name is spelled W-A-Y-N-E, and my last name is W-A-L-K-E-R.
All right, and how is it that you're employed?
I'm a criminalist in the biology section at the Indian River Crime Lab
And how long have you been working with the Indian River Crime Laboratory?
since October of 2014.
All right, what is your specific job title?
I'm a criminalist in the biology section.
Criminalist. So what does a criminalist do?
So I examine items of evidence for biological material, such as blood, semen, and saliva. I then try to develop a DNA profile from unknown evidence samples, and if I am able to develop a DNA profile from that unknown evidence, I'll do a comparison to known standards that I have, and I'll perform statistical analysis to determine how common or rare that unknown profile is, and then I write a report and testify when needed.
All right, now, prior to being able to do this type of analysis, I assume you have to have some training and a certain education.
Yes, I do.
If you could tell the jury about your background as far as your education and then your training leading up to you doing this job.
From the University of Central Florida, I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in forensic biochemistry, along with minors in chemistry and micromolecular biology. And from the University of South Florida, I have a Master's of Science degree in medical science with a concentration in health science. I started my career at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement at the Orlando Regional Operations Center. I started as a forensic technologist in the biology section. Basically, it's an entry-level science position. I helped clean the lab, make chemicals, do some maintenance on some instruments. After about a year and a half, I was promoted to a crime laboratory analyst in the biology section, at which point I went through about a year and a half training program. It's divided into two phases. The first phase deals with readings and working on practice samples, and the readings are about the techniques used in DNA analysis as well as statistical methods used in DNA analysis. I then work practice samples, At the completion of the first phase, the second phase is supervised casework. So I started working actual cases under the direction of an already trained analyst. I was an analyst, caseworking analyst at FDLE for about 4 years before coming to the Indian River Crime Lab, at which point it was about a 6-month training program. I kind of say, I used to work at McDonald's, now I work at Burger King. One makes Whoppers, the other makes Big Macs, but it's really just burgers and fries. So both labs are doing the same thing. Some things are a little different, and that's what the 6 month of training was about at Indian River Crime Lab.
All right, now as far as the Indian River Crime Lab, is that certified?
It's an accredited laboratory, yes.
All right, and do you have to continue to have training periodically to able to keep doing what you do for your living?
Yes, I am required to have at least 8 hours of continuing education each year.
All right. And have you ever testified previously in court?
Yes, I have.
Approximately how many times?
Roughly 60 times.
All right. Now, can you, I guess, explain the difference to the jury between what is called, you referred to as an unknown standard or an unknown sample versus a known standard?
So when you have DNA, there's no name. It's really what it looks like is peaks on a graph. So when you get evidence from an unknown source, you just have these peaks on a graph. It doesn't tell you whose this is. So what we'll do is after we determine what we can interpret, I'll then compare it to a known standard, which usually comes in the form of an oral swab or a blood stain card or blood swab from an individual. And that way I know what is this person's profile, what are the peaks that I would see, and I can use that to compare it to the unknown profile from the evidence.
All right, and can you just explain the physical process of how you do a DNA? I guess, how does a typical case where you get some swabs or a sample in the lab, how does that work? What do you do?
So for the very first thing that I'll do when I get evidence is I make sure that the packaging is properly labeled and is sealed. Packaging is sealed, it's properly labeled. I'll do whatever testing may be required, what's called the serology or body fluid identification. And then I'll take samples on for DNA analysis. And the DNA analysis, the first step is called extraction. And this is basically adding some chemicals and heat and just trying to break open the cells to get to the DNA. The second step is called quantitation. So I actually want to know how much DNA is present in my sample, because how much DNA I have can affect my later processes. So I kind of think, I like to use a lot of analogies. And this is sort of like orange juice concentrate. You don't just drink straight orange juice concentrate, you have to dilute it out. And the same thing happens with DNA. If I have too much DNA, that can affect my later processes. So I may have to make a dilution of that sample. On the flip side, if I have not a lot of DNA, if I don't get very good results, well, I know why I didn't get good results. There wasn't a lot of DNA to be processed. So it's also a good quality control measure. The next step is called amplification. And I actually don't look at all of an individual's DNA. We only look at 21 specific areas, and we make billions of copies of those 21 specific areas. This DNA is then, these copies of the DNA are then put on an instrument that separates it based off size. And this is represented graphically. These are the peaks on the graph I mentioned earlier. So it's these peaks on a graph that I will use to interpret.
All right, now as far as you use this term DNA, what is DNA?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It's the genetic blueprint that makes up all life. Humans actually have 2 copies of DNA. You get 1 copy from your mother, you get 1 copy from your father. This is determined at conception, and it remains the same your entire life. And all the cells of your body have the same DNA. So whether it's your blood or your skin cells or the inside of your mouth, all of those cells have the same DNA profile, and no 2 individuals have the same DNA profile except for identical twins.
All right, so my DNA is my DNA alone. Nobody else has the same DNA. I don't have an identical twin, so no one else has the same DNA that I would have.
That's correct.
All right. So I want to talk about some of the evidence that you received in this case. Is one of the things that you could do at the crime laboratory is determine paternity or who the father is of a child?
Yes, we do paternity testing for criminal cases.
Okay, and were you asked to do some paternity testing in this particular case?
Yes, I was.
All right, so what I want to do is, before I show you any exhibits, how do you determine paternity? What do you need from the sheriff's office or from law enforcement to be able to do that analysis? What is required?
So first it will be from the child, because I need their DNA profile, the mother, and so remember when I talked about DNA, humans have 2 copies, 1 comes from the mother. So from that child, if I know what the mother's DNA profile is, I can subtract out her DNA, and what I'm left over is what's obligate DNA from the father. The father has to have these peaks. So then I need standards from individuals who are the alleged father to do a comparison, and then if I cannot exclude that alleged father, I'll perform statistical analysis to give some weight to that person's inclusion as a possible alleged father.
All right, so in this particular case then, and these have already been entered into evidence, States Exhibits 9 and 144. States Exhibit 9 is the blood standard of Josiah Wise, and then States Exhibit 144 would be the blood standard of Tania Wise. Can you take a look at those and let me know if you recognize those exhibits?
Yes, I do.
How is it that you recognize them?
So on both of the exhibits, there is a barcode sticker from the Indian River Crime Lab that has the Indian River Crime Lab case number and exhibit number. And then it's covered up with a sticker here, but you can see it more clearly here. I hand wrote the Indian River Crime Lab case number, the exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right. So were you able to get a DNA profile for each of those two standards?
Yes, I was.
All right. So those would be the mother and the child. What is missing for you to then determine whether or not someone's the father?
Standard from an alleged father.
All right. And did you receive additional standards in this case from some males?
Yes, I did.
What I'd like to do is provide you with State's Exhibit 8, which is the DNA standard of Eric Alvarez. State's Exhibit 162, the DNA standard of Mark Burke. State's Exhibit 163, the DNA standard of Giovanni Alvarado. And then State's Exhibit 164, the DNA standard of Bradley Rodriguez. Mr. Walker, do you recognize those exhibits?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize them?
So again, each of them I'll put up two at a time. They have the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the Indian River Crime Lab case number and exhibit number. And then I hand wrote, and I'll put the other two, I hand wrote the Indian River Crime Lab case number, exhibit numbers, the date I examined these, and my initials.
All right, and were you able to get a standard DNA profile for each of those individuals we just listed?
Yes, I was.
All right, and then did you do a comparison to the previously referenced standard of Josiah Wise, the baby, and the victim Tania Wise, to see if any of those individuals could be the father of Josiah Wise?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what were the results of that analysis?
So the DNA profiles from the child, baby Wise, and the mother, Tania Wise, were compared with that with these alleged fathers, and these individuals are not consistent with having the DNA profile of that required to be the child's biological father.
Okay, can you confidently say that?
Yes.
Okay, how can you say that?
The obligate markers that are needed, these individuals, maybe there might be some sharing, but they don't have, there are places where they are missing an obligate that needs to be present. So they would be excluded as the alleged father.
All right, now I'd like to show you what's been marked by the evidence, State's Exhibit 161. This is the DNA swab of Jose Soto-Escalera. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize that?
It has the Indian River Crime Lab barcode with the case number and exhibit number. And then I hand wrote, again, it's covered, but I hand wrote the Indian River Crime Lab case number, exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials would be under that sticker.
All right, and were you able to get a complete male DNA profile from that standard?
Yes, I was.
All right, and did you compare that standard to those previously analyzed of baby Wise and Tania Wise?
Yes, I did.
Were you able to reach a conclusion as to whether or not the defendant in this case, Jose Soto-Escalera, is the biological father of Josiah Wise?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and what was your conclusion?
So the DNA profiles from the child, baby Wise, and the mother, Tania Wise, were compared with that of the alleged father, Jose Soto-Escalera. The DNA profile from Jose Soto-Escalera is consistent with that required of the child's biological father. And now I'm going to read two stats that give statistical weight to that statement. The first is what's called the parentage index. And this is an odds ratio that determines how much more likely the alleged parent is to be the biological parent than an unknown random individual. And the parentage index is approximately 241 trillion. The next stat is called the probability of parentage. This is the chance that the alleged parent is the biological parent when compared to a random individual. And this is approximately 99.9999999999.
Is that 10 nines?
Yes, it is.
So
99.109%.
Percent.
Yeah, percent.
That he's the father of the child?
Yes.
In addition to those standards, did you also receive swabs from evidence in this case?
Yes, I did.
All right. What is StarMix?
StarMix?
Yeah.
So StarMix is a software program. It's called Probabilistic Genotyping Software Program. And StarMix, it's a tool that's used to help interpret data for DNA analysts. It uses biological modeling, probability theory, statistical theory, and computer algorithms to help infer the DNA profiles that would explain the unknown profile that I have.
Now I want to ask you about some items of evidence that you've received in this particular case. The first one I want to show you is State's Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
Okay, how do you recognize that?
It has the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then I hand wrote the Crime Lab case number, exhibit number, the date I examined this, in my initials.
All right, for the record, you're looking at State's Exhibit 7, which is a DNA swab from a flashlight. Were you able to, I guess, what do you do when you get that swab in the lab, and what happened after you did your examination? And I believe for you, the number 295781.
So what I did with this exhibit is I tested it for DNA. I took a cutting, put that in a tube, and then performed the DNA analysis method on it.
And did you find any DNA on that item?
Yes, I did.
All right, and did you compare it then to the profiles? Well, I guess, did you find a major contributor or a minor contributor?
So my results of what I got was a DNA profile obtained from the swabs of the flashlight was consistent with being a mixture of a major and a minor component. A male DNA profile was obtained from the major component of this mixture at 15 locations. Results at the remaining 6 locations were inconclusive due to insufficient DNA quality and/or quantity.
All right. So did you compare the major contributor, the DNA profile that you found, to the males that we previously referenced?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and did it match any of them?
They were all excluded as a contributor to the major profile.
All right, so there you found, to summarize State's Exhibit 7, found some male DNA is on it, it's present, but it doesn't match Mark Burke, Giovanni Alvarado, Eric Alvarado, Bradley Rodriguez, or the defendant.
That's correct.
All right. State's Exhibit 160, hair from Nike shoe. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize that one?
It has the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number. I hand wrote the Crime Lab case number, the exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right, and based on your examination of that item, what came of it?
So for hair, I do an examination of the root end of a hair. Hair probably is the thing that is most, there's a lot of misinformation from TV and things like that. A lot of hair falls out naturally, and you can't get nuclear DNA, the type of DNA testing I do, from the hair. The hairs that we need to get DNA from have to actually be pulled from the head, so there's some skin material. So I looked at the root end of the hair that was on this, and it was found to be eligible for nuclear DNA analysis. But when I did my testing, it was subjected to DNA extraction procedures, but it failed to yield sufficient STR DNA. So basically what that means is this hair, when I looked under a microscope, it was good enough to at least try. But when I did the DNA process, there's no DNA on this sample.
So you can't do anything with it, because there was no DNA.
There's no nuclear DNA.
All right. And then I want to ask you the same questions for some additional items. These are all involved. It's State's Exhibit 22, hair from left hand. State's 23, hair left thigh. State's 24, hair left waist. State's Exhibit 25, hair left side. State's Exhibit 26, hair from inside back of blue underwear. And then 27, hair from back of gray and blue underwear. Do you recognize those items?
Yes, I did.
And how do you recognize them?
So it's under this green card, but each of them has the Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then I can see my handwritten, I hand wrote the case number, exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
In the analysis that you just described in reference to hair, did you also perform that same analysis for each of those exhibits?
Yes, I did. I examined them microscopically.
And what were your conclusions? Were you able to get any nuclear, DNA for examination?
So I didn't even try. These were, after looking at a microscope, they were unsuitable for nuclear DNA analysis.
Okay, and what do you see that makes it unsuitable?
The hair, when it's unsuitable, it'll kind of have like a baseball bat shape. And that is because the hair is actually coming out of the follicle. So it detaches itself from the follicle. So it starts to shorten and becomes bulbous. And there's no, what I can see under a microscope of looking like skin, we call it a follicular tag. So no skin or anything like that on there. So if it's just this kind of looks like a bulb, baseball bat, some people call it like a light bulb, then it's not even, I'm not going to attempt nuclear DNA analysis. I probably won't get anything.
All right. Now I want to ask you about some items that have already been entered in evidence. These are swabs from the victim. We have State's Exhibit 11, DNA swabbing from left-hand fingernail. State's 12, DNA swabbing from right-hand fingernail. 13 fingernail scraping left ring. 14 fingernail scraping right thumb. State's 15 fingernail scraping right middle. 16 DNA swabbing from left breast. And 17 DNA swabbing from right breast. Same questions as before. Do you recognize them? How do you recognize them?
So I do recognize them. Again, it's probably the best. They each have the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number, exhibit number, and then I've handwritten the case number, exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right. And for all of the victim swabs, did you perform an examination?
Yes, I did.
Did you find any DNA that was foreign to the victim on those items?
So I did additional testing on some of the items first, which is I tested them a presumptive test for blood. So the swabs from the left-hand fingernails, the swabs from the right-hand fingernails, and the swabs from the right breast, they tested positive chemically, indicating the presence of blood. I then did DNA analysis, and for all of these exhibits, the results were there were no DNA results foreign to Tania Wise were found on these following exhibits.
No, but some of them did have blood present.
They did not.
They did not have blood present.
Or they did not have a red-brown staining that would give me an idea to look for blood, to do my testing for blood.
All right. Now I want to ask you about State's Exhibit 18 that's been entered. It's the vaginal swab from the sexual assault kit that's already been entered into evidence. You recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
So this item came from a larger package that would have the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker. So this was inside, but I still handwrite the exhibit number, the case number, the date I examined it, and my initials, and those are present on here.
All right. And what analysis, do you do anything different or a different chemical test for this because it's a vaginal swab from a sexual assault kit?
Yes, so for the vaginal swabs, they tested negative chemically and microscopically for the presence of seminal fluid.
All right. So once you know that result, do you go any further with that?
Yes, so just because there's not semen, there could have been perhaps oral assault or digital penetration, so there could be DNA foreign to the victim on this sample anyway. Every time someone has sex, it doesn't mean they ejaculated. So I did DNA analysis on this sample, and the vaginal swabs were subjected to DNA extraction procedures, but they failed to yield sufficient male DNA for STR analysis. No further analysis was performed on this exhibit.
All right. So based on the results that you got at the crime lab, you couldn't do any further analysis.
That's correct.
I'd like to show you what's been marked for or it's already been entered into evidence. State's Exhibit 33. This is the swabbing of the rear passenger door pull of the Dodge Ram truck. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
So it has the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the exhibit number and case number, and then I hand wrote the crime lab's case number, exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right. Did you perform the same DNA analysis on that item?
Yes, I did.
And what were the results of your examination?
Oh, okay. So from this item, I obtained a mixture of DNA profiles from 2 individuals was obtained from the swabs from the rear passenger door pull. And then I did do a comparison to the standards that I have.
All right. And would those have been Eric Alvarado, Jose Soto-Escalera, Mark Burke, Giovanni Alvarado, Tania Wise, and Josiah Wise?
Yes.
And I think Miss Bradley Rodriguez. What were your results?
So Eric Alvarado, he cannot be excluded as a possible contributor to this mixture. For the locations I was able to perform statistics at, the probability that a randomly chosen unrelated individual would be included as a possible contributor to this mixture is approximately 1 in 137 billion. Bradley Rodriguez, Jose Soto-Escalera, Mark Burke, Giovanni Alvarado, Tania Wise, and Baby Wise are excluded as possible contributors to this mixture.
So in the rear passenger swab, Eric Alvarado cannot be excluded, but the rest of the people that you have standards for can.
That's correct.
Next, I'd like to show you what's been entered into evidence of State's Exhibit 152, the swabbing from the front passenger headrest. You recognize that one?
Yes, I do. So it has the Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then I hand wrote the case number, the exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right. And did you perform an analysis on this exhibit, State's Exhibit 152?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what were the results?
Mixtures of DNA profiles from at least 3 individuals was obtained on the swabs from the front passenger headrest. Due to the complexity of this mixture, no further conclusions are possible regarding this profile.
All right. Is there ever a time where evidence that's been examined by your crime laboratory is then also sent to another lab?
It does happen occasionally, yes.
Okay, did that happen in this case?
Yes, it did.
How does that happen?
So it depends. There's different ways. For this situation, the the sheriff's office wanted to have additional testing done that is not performed at the Indian River Crime Lab. So when I do my testing, that first step is called extraction. That's getting the DNA out of the cell. What's left over is like is a small amount of liquid. I don't use all that liquid. I use a portion of it, and then we retain or save that in case there's ever further testing that's needed. So this extract was given to the sheriff's office, and if they pursued further testing, they would be able to with that extract.
All right, so for some of the exhibits in this case, there were extracts that were made, or is that something you do on every single piece of evidence?
Every piece of evidence does start with the DNA process. There is an extract left over because it's extracted, so then there's an extract.
All right, so for every swab, there were extracts, but the extracts themselves can be sent to other labs if additional testing is requested by the agency.
Yes, it can.
Okay, and are you aware whether or not that was done in this case?
The only part I know is that the extract was given to the sheriff's office. I don't know what happened with it afterwards.
What I'd like to show you next is State's Exhibit 153, swabbing from the steering wheel. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, I do.
Okay, is this another item that went to your lab in reference to this case?
Yes, it did, and I can recognize it. It has the crime lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then I hand wrote the case number, the exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right, and what were your results in reference to State's Exhibit 153, the steering wheel?
The DNA profile obtained from the swabs of the Dodge truck steering wheel was consistent with being a mixture of a major and a minor component. The male DNA profile obtained from the major component of the mixture matches the DNA profile obtained from the oral standard from Jose Soto-Escalera at 15 locations. Comparisons at the remaining 6 locations were inconclusive due to insufficient DNA quantity and/or quality. For those 15 areas, the frequency with which the major evidence DNA profile is expected to be found in an unrelated individual in the population at large is 1 in 288 quintillion, and then no comparisons are possible to the minor component of the mixture profile due to insufficient DNA quantity and/or quality.
All right, so the major contributor in this case is Jose Soto-Escalera.
His profile matches, and then this is a stat to give weight. So
Okay,
he
and
matches.
it's the number that you gave?
Yes, so what that number is what is the chance that you were to randomly select a person, an unrelated person from the population at large, and they would also happen to match. For this major profile, it's 1 in 288 quintillion.
How many zeros is quintillion?
Quintillion has 18 zeros, so it's 1 followed by 18 zeros. To get to a quintillion is a billion times a billion.
So that's a high number.
A quintillion is a large number, yes.
Now I want to show you State's Exhibit 154. You recognize this one?
Yes, I do. It has the Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then I hand wrote the Crime Lab case number, exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right, and what were the results of your analysis on this item 154?
So the DNA profile obtained from the swabs of the Dodge truck driver's door was consistent with being a mixture of a major and a minor component. The male DNA profile obtained from the major component of this mixture matches the DNA profile obtained from the oral standard from Jose Soto-Escalera at 12 locations. Comparisons at the remaining 9 locations were inconclusive due to insufficient DNA quantity and/or quality. For those 12 locations, the frequency at which the major evidence DNA profile is expected to be found in an unrelated individual in the population at large is approximately 1 in 40 quadrillion. No comparisons are possible to the minor component of this mixture profile due to insufficient DNA quantity and/or quality.
Okay. Now I want to show you what's been entered into evidence. Swabbing from top of armrest, State's Exhibit 155. You recognize that one?
Yes, I do. It
Okay.
has the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then I hand wrote the case number, the exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right, and what was the results of your analysis on State's 155?
This was an inconclusive mixture of DNA profiles was obtained from the swabs of the driver armrest top and is not suitable for comparison to any known standards.
All right, so based on what you saw, there's nothing you can do with that. No further testing you can do.
Yeah, so this is an inconclusive mixture. There's a mixture being DNA from more than one person, but I can't interpret and tease out the different contributors. So I can't interpret this data.
I want to show you now entered State's 156, swabbing from the bottom of the armrest. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do. It has the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number. And then I hand wrote the case number, the exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
And what were the results of the examination on that one?
This also was an inconclusive mixture of DNA profiles was obtained from the swabs at the driver armrest bottom that are not suitable for comparison to any known standards.
Okay. And And now we'll show you what's been entered as State's Exhibit 28, DNA swabs, driver door behind handle. Same question. Do you recognize it? How do you recognize it?
I recognize it. It has the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number. And then, again, I can't see, but I hand wrote the case number, the exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials are on this package.
All right, and for State's 28, what were the results of your analysis?
So from this, there was an insufficient DNA/data was obtained from the swabs of the driver door behind the handle that is not suitable for comparison to any known standards.
All right, so insufficient on this one, because the last two previous you said were inconclusive. So insufficient is there's not even enough DNA?
Yeah, so this insufficient is just, there's not enough, and it's still very complex to be able to interpret. So inclusive, there's a little bit more data. Insufficient, there's less data, and that's why I'm not able to interpret it.
All right, and then I'd like to show you State's Exhibit 157, driver's door panel, top edge of storage area swab. Do you recognize it? How do you recognize it?
I do recognize it, and it's from the Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then I hand wrote the Crime Lab's case number, exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right, what were your results for that one?
For this item, there was also insufficient DNA/data that was obtained from the swabs of the top edge of a driver door storage that is not suitable for comparison to any known standards.
All right, and then we get to State's Exhibit 158, DNA swabbing from front driver seatbelt. Do you recognize it? How do you recognize it?
I recognize it because it has the Indian River Crime Lab barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then I hand wrote the Crime Lab's case number, exhibit number, the date I examined it, and there's my initials.
All right, and what were your results as to State's Exhibit 158, the swabs from the seatbelt buckle on the driver's side?
The DNA profile obtained from the swabs from the front driver's seatbelt buckle was consistent with being a mixture of a major and minor component. The male DNA profile obtained from the major component of this mixture matches the DNA profile obtained from the oral standard from Jose Soto-Escalera at 7 locations. Comparisons at the remaining 14 locations were inconclusive due to insufficient DNA quantity and/or quality. For those 7 locations, the frequency with which the major evidence DNA profile is expected to be found in an unrelated individual in the population at large is approximately 1 in 12 billion. No comparisons are possible to the minor component of this mixture profile due to insufficient quantity and/or quality.
All right. What I'd like to ask you about now is State's Exhibit 29. It's a section of carpet from the driver's side of the Dodge Ram. If you can take a look at this exhibit and tell me if you recognize it.
Yes, I do. It has the Crime Lab's barcode sticker with the case number and exhibit number, and then my initial, I hand wrote the case number, the exhibit number, the date I examined it, and my initials.
All right, now obviously in all the other exhibits you had swabs. This one is different. Is there any difference in the process of what you do?
So the main difference is for an item like this, it's a larger item, so I kind of look over it. The request was that is there the possibility of blood being on this, so I'm looking for any discoloration, not just red blotch stains, but sometimes blood can appear blackish. So I would look for any staining like that, and then I'll perform testing on presumptive testing for blood, and then possibly, if that's positive, I'll do DNA testing.
All right, so on this particular piece of evidence, did you do the chemical testing to determine whether or not there was blood?
Yes, I did.
And what were the results of that test?
The carpet tested positive chemically, indicating the presence of blood.
All right, so now that you know that you have blood, do you do DNA analysis?
Yes, I did.
All right, were you able to get any DNA evidence from that carpet?
Yes, so the DNA profile obtained from the carpet was consistent with being a mixture of a major and a minor component. The female DNA profile obtained from the major component of this mixture matches the DNA profile obtained from the blood standard from Tania Wise at all 21 locations. For those 21 locations, the frequency with which the major evidence DNA profile is expected to be found in an unrelated individual in the population at large is approximately 1 in 87 non-nillion. No comparisons are possible to the minor component of the mixture profile due to insufficient DNA quantity and/or quality.
All right, so when you first started testifying, I think you said you guys look for matches on all 21 loci. Is that right?
So we look at 21 areas. Those are 21 areas we amplify. When I have the data, I try to interpret as many of those areas as I can. Some of them you can't. Whether it's not enough data is present there or that it's too complex. So before I look at any standards, we could look and interpret our unknown evidence first. So I first look at my unknown evidence, I determine what areas could be used for comparison, and then I look at standards to compare to.
All right, so say for the one we just did, the seatbelt buckle from the driver's side, that's State's Exhibit 158. You received that first as an unknown, and you determine a major and a minor, and then once you have that profile, then you compare it to our standards.
That's correct.
And when you compared it on that particular item, State's 158, it matched on 7 out of the 21.
There were 7 that were possible to be compared to.
Okay, and then the other 14 you could not.
Correct.
And that produced a number that the frequency was 1 in 12 billion.
Yes.
Okay, so then we go to this one, just so I can comprehend this. So on this one, it was an unknown sample that you found. First you tested it chemically for blood, then there's an unknown standard, and then you compare that to a known standard.
I did the chemical test for blood, I did DNA analysis. I have the DNA analysis from this carpet, that's my unknown sample. I interpret the unknown data first, determine what I can interpret, and then once I've done that, then I compare it to any standards that I have.
And on this one you indicated it matched on all 21.
Because all 21 areas were able to be resolved.
And 87 non-million. The frequency in this one was 1 in 87 non-million. How many zeros is a non-million?
A non-million is 1 followed by 30 zeros. So to get to a non-million is a billion times a billion times a billion times 1,000.
All right. And for this one, the major contributor was Tania Wise.
So she matches that major component.
And is that the highest number that we've heard of since you started testifying?
Yes, I believe so.
I don't have any other questions at this time.
Cross-examination?
Very briefly. Sir, you also did a test on a condom that was found at the scene?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Soto-Escalera, Mr. Burke, Mr. Giovanni Alvarado, and Eric Alvarado's standards were excluded as contributors to the DNA on that condom. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
And you also did DNA testing on a flashlight in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and there was a male DNA profile found on that flashlight. However, Jose Soto-Escalera was excluded as a contributor to the DNA on that flashlight. Is that accurate?
To the major component, yes.
Okay, and when we talk about DNA, it doesn't necessarily have to come from blood, correct?
Correct. So it just comes from cells.
Okay, and in fact, when we take buccal swabs, that's getting what's called an epithelial cell from the inside of your mouth, right?
Yes.
Okay, so epithelial cells meaning like skin cells, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have any further questions.
Any further questions from the state?
Can we approach her?
Sure.
Do you swear affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If you could state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
My name is William Hausman, Hausman.
All right, and how are you currently employed?
I'm currently the president of Prawn Seafoods Incorporated in Miami-Dade County.
All right, now prior to working for that job, did you have a much different job back in October of 2018?
Yes, back then I worked at DNA Labs International for approximately 5 years.
Okay, and if you could tell the jury, what is DNA Labs International? What do they do?
So DNA Labs International does forensic DNA processing.
Okay, and is it a private company? What type of company is it?
It's privately owned.
And does DNA Labs International do testing of DNA at times for law enforcement agencies?
Yes, that's primarily what they do testing for.
All right, what was your job title when you were employed at DNA Labs International?
I was a forensic DNA analyst.
All right. And to become a forensic DNA analyst, what is your background as far as education and training to be able to do that job back when you used to do it?
All right, so I have a bachelor's degree of science from biology at FAU, as well as a master's of science in biology at FAU, as well as going through a training program at DNA Labs International in order to perform DNA analysis procedures.
Okay, and back in 2018, you said you had worked there for 5 years?
Correct.
When you first began your employment with them, were you immediately allowed to work by yourself, or did you have to go through some on-the-job training or any other certifications?
Yeah, so there's a whole training regimen at DNA Labs where you learn new procedures and then you perform competency exams to show that you could perform them accurately.
Okay, and is that something that you went through?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and did you pass the examinations to be able to do DNA analysis?
Yes, I passed all those exams, as well as proficiency exams that were given twice a year by an external company to show that I could perform DNA analysis.
All right. Now, did you receive any items of evidence in reference to this particular case?
I did.
Okay, and do you know what those items were? Do you recall?
Yes, I have 2 items that I see here. One of the items was the extracts of swabbing from the passenger side headrest. as well as the extracts from Tania Esther Wise.
And what I'd like to show you is what's already been marked into or entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 167. There's two different ones. One is labeled as extracts from swabs from front passenger headrest, and the other being extracts of blood standard from Tania Wise. Is there any markings or identification on there that looks familiar to you?
Yes, I could say DNA Labs International uses their own tape, as well as the initials of one of my coworkers at the time.
Okay. And did you end up doing a DNA analysis in reference to these particular two items?
Yes, I did.
What type of analysis were you doing or asked to do in this case?
So what we did is we used a software called StarMix, and what it does is it helps us to evaluate DNA profiles that are mixtures, meaning that there's more than one person contributing to that profile.
And do you look at these standards? I guess, what is the process of how you do it? Do you run the unknown standard and then compare it to a known standard, or how do you do that?
All right. So as far as StarMix, what it does is it weighs two propositions against each other, developing a likelihood ratio. So you'll have weighing one proposition against another. So for example, if you have 3 contributors in a DNA profile, it'll weigh the likelihood that one specific contributor as well as 2 unknowns is more or less likely than having 3 unknown contributors.
So for then the DNA extract from the extracts of swabs from the front passenger headrest, through StarMix, were you able to determine whether or not there was a mixture of a DNA profile for that exhibit?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and what did it determine, or what did you determine in your analysis?
So the DNA profile obtained from the extract indicates a mixture of at least 3 individuals with at least 1 male contributor, and Tania Esther Wise could not be ruled out as a possible contributor to this mixed DNA profile.
So the standard that you get from the extract of Tania Wise is compared to the mixture?
Correct.
Okay. And then you had reference to use of propositions. Were there propositions considered in reference to Tania Wise's including, or I guess being in that mixture of 3 individuals?
Yes, so 2 propositions were considered, or I should say 2 sets of propositions were considered. So the first one is the DNA profile obtained from the extract is approximately 1.1 times more probable if the sample originated from 3 unknown persons than if it originated from Tania Esther Wise and 2 unknown persons. Therefore, the strength of the support for either proposition cannot be determined, as the likelihood ratio is uninformative. Now, the second set of proposition that I did, the DNA profile obtained from the extract is approximately 4.5 million times more probable if the sample originated from Tania Esther Wise and 3 unknown persons than if it originated from 4 unknown persons. Therefore, there is extremely strong support that Tania Esther Wise and 3 unknown persons contributed to this mixed DNA profile, rather than 4 unknown persons.
All right. And when we talk about levels of support in your DNA analysis for mixtures, what is the lowest level of support?
I don't recall.
You don't recall what the lowest?
The lowest one.
What's the highest level of support?
So I'll tell you the highest level of support is extremely strong, which is what we see in this case.
I don't have any other questions for this witness.
Thank you, Judge. So, DNA Labs International, right?
Correct.
That's where you worked?
Correct.
Okay. And I think I heard your testimony to be that extremely, well, I'm sorry, what was the level there that you said?
Extremely strong support.
Extremely strong support that the extract that you received and tested was Tania and 3 other unknown individuals?
Correct.
Okay, got it. And at DLI, you all are capable of testing DNA samples that are pretty old, right?
Correct.
Okay. In fact, I think you all tested a sample that was 22 years old from some gentleman's molar. Do you remember that case?
I don't recall.
Okay, you didn't work on that while you were there?
I've worked on thousands of cases.
Including cold cases, right?
Correct.
Where the DNA is very old.
Correct.
Okay. So you can get DNA from a very old sample?
Yes.
Okay, no further questions.
Any further questions from the state?
There you are.
May Mr. Hausman be released from his subpoena?
Yes, sir.
Any objection to releasing Mr. Hausman?
No objection, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Hausman. You're released from your subpoena. You're free to stay or leave as you wish. Thank you. And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
Yes, sir. People State of Florida recall Donna Carmichael.
previously sworn this session today, so you don't need to be resworn. You're under the same oath previously administered to you. And Mr. Cormier, you may inquire of the witness.
Good afternoon. How are you? Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. So, were you a crime scene investigator that was involved in the search of the defendant's silver Dodge Ram pickup truck?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many times was that searched?
1 time on consent and 2 times with search warrants.
Okay. What are the dates? I'd like for you to spell out the dates of each search.
May I have permission to look at my notes so I make sure I have the right dates?
Yes.
Okay, on Saturday, August 25th of 2018 was the very first time that I spoke about earlier that we looked at the truck when the truck was in the Detective Bureau parking lot, that we searched or processed it then and took photos.
And that was a consensual search?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next search, first search warrant. What was the date of that?
The vehicle was towed to the sheriff's office on August 27th. And then on August 31st, which is a Friday, we conducted the first official search warrant with an actual search warrant.
Okay. And then the second search warrant.
Okay, the vehicle was returned on September 10th to the owner, and then the sheriff's office again issued a search warrant for it and received the vehicle on Friday the 21st, and we did the search warrant on Monday, September 24th.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, the vehicle was in the sheriff's office custody from August 27th through November 10th continuously.
No, through September 10th.
I'm sorry, September 10th continuously.
Yes, sir.
And then it was returned to the defendant on September 10th.
Yes, sir.
And then the vehicle was taken back into sheriff's office custody on September 21st.
Yes, sir.
Of 2018, correct? And then it was searched on September 24th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it was searched on August 25th, correct?
Yes, sir.
August 31st,
Yes, sir.
September 24th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now let me turn your attention to some Waste Pro videos. Did the sheriff's office receive into custody an SD card from a Waste Pro garbage truck on August 27th of 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you participate in the collection of data from that Waste Pro garbage truck SD card?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to show you what has been marked as, I'm sorry, State's Exhibit 169 and also State's Exhibit 170. Have you reviewed the contents of States 169 and 170, both of which are external hard drives?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is the data from the Waste Pro SD card that was collected on August 27th of 2018, was it placed and provided to David Mingerelli of the FBI in order for him to enhance the audio and video of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that data used in both of these exhibits?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And Your Honor, the state moves into evidence 169 and 170.
Any objection?
No further objections, Judge, other than what we previously discussed.
Those items will come into evidence at this time without objection.
And Ms. Carmichael, thank you. That's all the questions that I have.
No questions.
May she be released at this time?
She may.
Any objection to releasing Ms. Carmichael from the defense?
Yes.
From the defense, no objection.
No objection, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Carmichael. You are released from your subpoena. You're free to stay or leave as you wish.
Thank you.
And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
Yes, sir. He's on the state of Florida, called David Mingerelli.
Do you swear or affirm that evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you may inquire of the witness.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Can you state your name for the record and spell your last name, please?
Yes, my name is David J. Mingarelli, spelled Mingarelli.
Okay, and what do you do for a living?
So I am employed with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'm a senior digital forensic examiner. I've been employed as such for the last 16 years in the Miami field office.
Okay, and what does a senior digital forensics examiner do for the FBI?
So the major part of my responsibility is collecting, inventorying, processing digital evidence. That might be cell phones, loose media, thumb drives, laptop computers, video surveillance systems, things of that nature. I'm also trained in forensic audio and video processing and enhancement. The last 3 years I've been in charge of the digital video retrieval training program, which is based out of Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay, and go ahead and describe your education and your training and your experience to the jury, please.
So, as part of being a forensic examiner with the FBI, we have internal training and certifications that we are required to take and maintain our levels. There's yearly trainings, yearly proficiency testing programs, outside education, outside vendors provide training for continually evolving technologies.
Okay, and do you have any experience with enhancing audio and video as it relates to evidence that comes into possession from law enforcement?
Yes, I've been trained to process and enhance audio and video as it relates to digital video images and still images.
Okay, and does that, when you say enhance, does that make it easier for a user to understand?
Yes, the primary goal is to enhance the intelligibility or either the viewability or audibility of video recording or audio recording.
Okay, and I want to show you what has been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit number 169, which is a external hard drive that contains video from August 24th of 2018 from a Waste Pro garbage truck. Are you familiar with that item of evidence?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead and explain to the jury what that is.
So that is the video that I processed initially related to this case. Initially, I was asked to review video footage from a Waste Pro garbage truck for the date of 8/24 of 2018. The video was provided to me. The video, as it came in, was in individual 1-minute pieces for the hourly folders. So each folder was separated by hour for the day. We had 1-minute chunks of video. That video was combined into hourly chunks and then to a daily chunk for 4 cameras. Of primary interest when the request came in was the in-cab audio, which was identified as camera 1. So there was an audio track that went along with the video. So that audio track was extracted from camera 1. It was noted that there was some mechanical noise and what we would identify as broadband noise, which is just environmental type background information or that distracts the user from the ability to listen to a conversation or voices in the cab. So when I examined the video, I noticed primarily the fan. There was a fan running, making a clicking noise. So I was able to isolate a sample of that fan audio noise and use that to basically quiet that fan noise down. So it's basically you take a sample, then you use that sample to eliminate the fan noise or lower the level of the fan noise, so the voice conversation will be a little clearer.
Okay, and can you explain to the jury what a hash value is?
So a hash value is in this case, I provided MD5 hashes on my files. The MD5 hash is a mathematical algorithm. Basically, you pass a data stream. I use a tool that's capable of understanding and generating MD5 hashes. So in my case, I pass my file through an MD5 hash algorithm. It generates a unique fingerprint, if you will. It's a mathematical character representation of the data stream. It's to guarantee that my video files have not been changed in any way since I originally created them. So if I was to take those video files and hash them again, I could verify that those files are intact and have not been altered in any way.
And are there hash values contained in exhibit number 169 from the August 24, 2018 video?
Yes, there are.
Okay. And you said that you were able to enhance the quality of the sound, and you mentioned the fan. Can you walk the jury through the specifics of what you did, what type of software you used, and how you actually carried that out?
Yes. So once I combined the videos from the individual cameras and generated the daily camera, I was able to extract the audio track from camera 1, which is what was of interest in this case. That audio track was then brought into, we use a program called Isotope. It's primarily used for audio and post-production audio. So recording artists, things like that, we use that type of software in order to clean up vocals, remove ambient noises, mechanical hums, things like that. It has other features that remove clicking and hissing. It has a feature called denoise. That denoise feature is what I utilized in this case. I was able to isolate an area of the sound where the fan was clicking. I sampled that audio, and then I used that to lower the level of that fan throughout the rest of the video as that fan was playing, which allows anyone that would listen to that file to focus more on the voices if anyone was speaking in the video. And then that audio track, that enhanced audio track, was added back to a quad camera layout that I created. So using Adobe Premiere, so then Adobe Premiere is a video editing software. I loaded the 4 cameras into a layout so you could see them simultaneously. Since they were in 1-minute chunks, they were very difficult to watch, and that was why the original request had come in. It was very difficult to watch 1-minute chunks of video. So the files were all merged together, and then the audio was cleaned up, added back to that quad view, and then rendered and produced. And that's what I provided on the hard drive.
Okay, and did the methods that you just described ensure the accuracy and the genuineness of the words that were spoken between those 2 individuals in the Waste Pro video? In
Yes,
that video right there?
Yes.
Okay, and did it, just by you using it, did it actually improve the audio of it and the understandability?
Yes, it did improve the audibility to me.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you what has been introduced into evidence as States Exhibit 170, which are videos from the dates of August 21st, August 23rd, August 25th, and August 27th of 2018. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Explain to the jury what that is. Thank you.
After I had processed the first video on the 24th, the state's attorney's office requested that I perform the same procedure on these additional dates. And so the difference here is that at this point, the videos, rather than me stitching the original videos as I did on the 24th, so taking those 1-minute pieces and combining them into hourly and then the hourly into a daily for each of the cameras, those videos were provided to me already stitched together. From that point on, I performed the same process. I located the audio track from camera 1, loaded it into Isotope, used the audio filtering that I used before for the fan to lower the noise of the fan, and then took that audio track and merged it back to camera 1, and then rendered a file that contained the 4 camera views with the enhanced audio overlaid.
Okay. And same question, did that process ensure both the accuracy and the genuineness of the words that were spoken between the 2 individuals in the Waste Pro trial?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And did it actually improve the audibility and understandability of it?
Yes, it did.
Okay. States Exhibit 170, was that particular, or at least the digital copy of it, provided to a translator from the FBI named Norma Campos?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And turning your attention back to States Exhibit 169, which is the Waste Pro video from August 24th of 2018, was that also provided to a private translator by the name of Rose Rosario?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mingarelli, thank you so much. I have no further questions for you.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Judge. Sir, just so I make sure that I understand, on the days in question, there would be separate folders per hour, and each folder would have 60 subfiles in it, 1 per minute, right?
If it was an entire hour, then there would be 60. I believe on some of them, the video might have started at 30 minutes or 40 minutes, so you would only have the remainder of the hour. But it was 1-minute chunk of video for each camera separated into hourly folders.
Okay, but some of the files were missing some of the videos. Do you recall that?
The files that were provided by St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office initially, when they had merged the files, once I received them, I realized that I was missing some video. So my understanding was it was just during the merge process. They did not merge properly. So I had made the request back to the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, and they had sent corrected files.
Okay, so all of the files didn't get to you the first time, but the second time they did get to you.
That's correct.
Okay, but we didn't convey it properly the first time. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, no further questions for this witness.
Questions from the state?
No further questions. Thank you.
May Mr. Mingarelli be excused from his subpoena at this time?
You may.
Any objection to excusing him from subpoena? From the defense?
Judge, we'd ask that he remain under subpoena momentarily.
Okay, you do remain under subpoena. You may step down. Please be sure if the attorneys, you want a contact number for him to get a hold of him if you want to recall him?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. You may step down. And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
Yes, sir. The people of the state of Florida call Adolfo Cavelli.
What was the last name again?
Cavelli.
Cavelli.
C-A-V-E-L-L-I.
Do you swear affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you state your name for the record and spell your last name, please?
Yes, sir. Adolfo Cavelli, Jr., C-O-V as in Victor, E-L-L-I.
Okay. And were you working at Waste Pro back in August of 2018?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do for them?
I was the assistant division manager at the end of the career there, but I was basically an operations manager, and I was over the trucks, which was 2 supervisors below me and then the drivers below them, and watched after the operation, the maintenance, and the safety.
Okay. And when you say operations manager, go ahead and just briefly describe what that entails.
Okay, so just in the day-to-day operation, so get there in the morning, drivers check in the morning, make sure we have their vehicles for them and the routes, get them on their routes to go pick up the trash, was over their safety, made sure I met with the route managers to make sure we take care of any issues with driver call-outs, vehicle breakdowns, and items like that, and then make sure we get the garbage picked up every day.
Okay. So if we were to envision a chain of command for Waste Pro in August of 2018, where would you have fallen?
Okay, towards the top. So right above me was a division manager. That was the highest person at the local office, Darlene, and then I was below her as the assistant division manager, which was really just a title change for a pay adjustment while I was transitioning into her position when she retired. I did not make it that far. I left before then, but that was it. So it was the division manager and then myself, I guess you would say number 2 in command, but number 1 over the operations.
Okay. And while you were there at Waste Pro, was there an individual named Jose Soto-Escalera that worked there?
Yes.
Okay. And did he fall below you in the chain of command?
Yes.
Okay. What was his position?
He was a residential driver.
Okay.
Picked up garbage at the houses.
Okay. Did he report to you, or was there an intermediary layer in between?
Correct. We had 2 people. So there was route managers or route supervisors. So the chain of command for Jose was myself, then Mike Smith or Michael Smith, and then Jose.
Okay. And did Jose's wife work there as well?
Yes. At the time, Deb Kendall was the other supervisor.
Okay. And where did she fall in the chain of command?
So her and Michael were equivalents. So it was Darlene, then myself, and then Deb and Mike, and then the staff of drivers.
Okay. And did you, you said, I believe, that Jose Soto-Escalera was a driver, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What is a prerequisite to becoming a garbage truck driver at Waste Pro?
In order to drive a vehicle for ours, you need a commercial driver's license, a CDL Class B, as in boy, with air brakes.
Okay. Gotcha. And if you did not have a commercial driver's license at Waste Pro, were you allowed to drive one of the garbage trucks?
No.
Okay. So you had to have the CDL, is that right?
Correct.
And did Jose Soto-Escalera have a commercial driver's license?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with an individual by the name of Eric Alvarado?
Yes.
Okay. Who is Eric Alvarado?
He was a helper for Waste Pro. At the time, he was Jose Soto's helper. I believe they were also related. I'm certain that it was his nephew.
Okay.
Jose was the uncle of Eric Alvarado.
Okay. Did Eric Alvarado have a commercial driver's license?
No.
Okay. So was there ever a circumstance where Eric Alvarado would have been allowed to drive the Waste Pro garbage truck?
No.
Okay. If Eric Alvarado attempted to drive or drove a Waste Pro garbage truck, what would have been the consequence?
Well, if I found out about something that somebody was driving that should not have been driving, they would have been terminated.
Okay. Okay. So a swift and immediate consequence.
Yes.
Okay. So let me turn your attention now to the Waste Pro garbage truck. There is a Waste Pro garbage truck, I think, named number 1363. Are you familiar with that truck?
Yes. 1363. Yes.
Okay. What? Who was assigned to that truck in August of 2018?
Jose Soto.
Jose Soto-Escalera?
Yes.
Okay. Was he the driver of that truck?
Yes.
Okay. Was that truck outfitted with a camera system?
Yes.
Okay. And did that camera have an audio system as well?
Yes.
Okay. Can you go ahead and explain to the jury the camera system from Waste Pro garbage truck number 1363?
Yes. The garbage trucks, for those type of garbage trucks, it was called the residential rear load garbage truck. We had 4 cameras and 4 audios. So we had a camera facing out of the front of the truck. So if whoever was driving, it was what the driver was seeing. So there's a camera facing forward. There was also a camera in the cab of the truck, finding out what was going on in the cab, along with the audio. There was also a camera and audio in the back of the truck. The back of the garbage truck you call a hopper, and that's where the garbage goes in. So in case someone got hurt back there, whatever, there was camera back there also for accidents. And then there was a 4th camera
On the driver's side, looking backwards. So basically what the driver was saying, if he was looking in the rearview mirror on the driver's side, it's what the camera was saying, is what he was saying from the camera. Okay, so can you explain to the jury why Waste Pro had this camera system? Why would a garbage truck have all of these cameras?
So we put them in, it's now pretty much standard in garbage trucks and buses, put in for safety measures. Originally put in for, if someone rear-ended us, but they were going to sue us for getting, for us slamming on the brakes. We had the video to prove otherwise. We are also used for measures for improved safety metrics. If a driver was eating while driving, that's a no-no. Talking on the phone while driving, that's a no-no. So it was again put in to improve our culture.
Okay, and was there also a microphone located in the Waste Pro garbage truck number 1363?
Yes.
Okay, explain to the jury where the position of the microphone is.
Okay. So the audio in the video in the cab of the truck was more, if you look at the cab, like it's 100% wide, it was more on the first third, more for the driver, right? So probably like 35% in from the driver's side, so 2/3 from the passenger side, so more on the driver's side.
Have you had occasion to listen to videos and audios from those Waste Pro garbage truck based on your job experience?
Yes.
Okay. Is it easier to hear the person who's seated in the driver's seat versus the passenger seat? Is it equal? Tell the jury about that.
Okay. So it's definitely easier.
Sure. Lead with instructions.
Okay. So you're familiar not just with this one particular Waste Pro truck, but all of them?
Yes.
Most of them at the time?
When I was working, yes, for the vehicles that were at my location.
Sure. And are they laid out in essentially the same way, with cameras as you've previously described, and a microphone in the same location as you previously described?
Yes, for all the residential rear loaders, that type of truck, they were all the same.
Okay. And as part of your job, did you have occasion to listen to and watch camera footage and also listen to audio footage from other trucks during the course of your employment?
Quite often.
Okay. And how often would you do that?
I would say it would be regularly, depending on the week, but it could be as easy as someone saying that their garbage was missed, to an accident, to an altercation on a vehicle. I would say easily one time a day, maybe more.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, I would say 5 days a week, 5 times a week, maybe not all once a day, but maybe 3 on one day, 2 on, but 5 a week maybe.
Okay. And based on the placement of those microphones and all of those trucks, which is it easier to hear the driver versus the passenger? Is it equal? Tell the jury about that.
Yeah, so on the, again, just speaking about the residential rear loader and those type of vehicles, those cameras, again, were closer to the driver, so the audio, I don't know if the microphone faces it a certain way, but it was a lot easier to hear the drivers over the people in the passenger seat.
Okay, thank you. Finally, let me turn your attention back to Jose Soto-Escalera. Describe your relationship with him. Was he an acquaintance? Was he a friend? Was he a good friend? Was this an employment relationship? Tell the jury generally about that.
It was an employee who became an acquaintance. Most of my staff, acquaintances, employees. Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have any kind of beef with him or anything?
No, not. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we approach?
Sure.